Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another review. There's another paid request, this time from Sherlock Bond. They do so much for that. For those interested in requesting pretty much anything, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. This is for a film called 6 Days, which I didn't know what this was at all. But it came out around 2017, and it's based on the 1980 Iranian Embassy siege in London. You have Jamie Bell, who was in the last Fantastic Four film. I believe he played Ben Grimm, the Thing, in that. Abbie Cornish. Mark Strachan, who's a good actor. He was in the Teensman movies. I believe he was in Green Lantern. And in the film, 6 Iranian Arabs storm the embassy in London. They hold 20 to 30 people hostage. And then the movie is pretty straightforward, pretty short, 80, 90 minutes. And for the most part, it'll go from the SAS members, including this guy named Lance Corporal Rusty Firmin, played by Jamie Bell. Or you have this Chief Inspector Max Vernon, played by Mark Strachan, who works with the Metropolitan Police. And for the most, it's very straightforward. In a good and a bad way. In a good way in the fact it kept at a decent pace. In a bad way in the fact that there's really not much for character development. Like, pretty much minutes in, boom, that's taken hostage. And the dialogue is pretty much just matter of fact of the situation. Mark Strachan on the phone, trying to negotiate with them. They want these people released. I don't know how we can do that. We'll do our best. Hey, could you do this? Okay, we release this guy because he's sick. Hey, could you give us 48 hours? Okay, we'll do this. Meanwhile, the SAS members, either they're ready to go in. Oh, wait, they release someone, stand down. Okay, they want a bus. Well, when they're on the way on the bus, SAS doing their training on how to take over the bus again and again and again. And then the government going, no, we don't deal with terrorists. We don't even want to, not even in a fake way, deal with terrorists. We don't want to make that impression. And then apparently this goes on for about 5-6 days. Okay, we can't do that. So then the SAS is training on how to storm this building. What to do, what not to do. Oh, they're working. Here's a caretaker. Well, that's wrong, fix it. Okay, we're going to train some more. Meanwhile, Mark Strachan is more negotiating with the guy. That's what I mean by matter of fact. And once in a while, it goes to Abbie Cornish, who plays this BBC reporter, Kate Adie. Her performance seemed the least successful of the movie. I didn't really quite buy her accent. And apparently I'm not alone. Other people felt the same way. And she's not really a big part of it. Like, she pops up every once in a while to the point I'm like, just don't feature her at all in the movie. But just say she's the big reporter of this real situation. But even within the film, like, she pops up every once in a blue moon to either look at the building or talk with her cameraman or, hey, go on top of the van so you get a better look when they storm the embassy. And as the films go on, I thought it was okay. Like, Jamie Bell, Mark Strachan, they did fine. The terrorists, I don't know how much of this is true, how much is not. Some people say it was rather... If you talk with different people, for what I looked up online, some people say, like a lot of things, they stretch the truth out in certain moments. Like an SAS member said, no, there's a lot more guys in there, and I don't know the whole deal. This is something I never even heard of what happened back in the day. Maybe because I don't live in London. It was before I was born. But in a way, I kind of sat there and said, was this story really worth telling? Because you don't really get a lot of depth to it. You don't really get a lot into the ins, the outs, other than the SAS training on the bus, empty bus, to what's the best way, or training this prop building they made up, how's the best way to get into it. There's so many countless movies, granted more fictional, while this is based on real life, but just, you could lose count how many movies there are about a group of people taken hostage by bad guys. You have the guy negotiating terms, and you have the team ready to go in and bust in and do their job. And usually that's even like a portion of a bigger picture of a movie. And you watch it, you know, what am I really grabbing information-wise? Other than, okay, the government, this is how they work. We don't want to deal with terrorists. We want to show them. That's really all I learned. The Prime Minister going, we want the world and the people to know how we deal with terrorism. So we will let the reporters film this. We're actually glad that the reporters are filming this. And we don't even want to pretend we're going to give the terrorists what they want and have a bus. So that's not going to happen either. That and the terrorist, the guy who's the main terrorist guy, he's not extremely one note where, like, there's a point they ask for, okay, if you can't give us, if you don't have the power to do it, at least get us on the news. And they are able to get on the BBC News. And then he's talking to Marstrand, and he almost tearfully says thank you to the guy. And Marstrand gives a good performance where he's trying to do his negotiating duties, even to the point where he's told he has to lie. Even to a hostage, he has to lie. No, we're not going in. We're not having an assault. We're not having a siege. There's a point where a hostage gets killed, and that's when they really decide, okay, when do I have these guys go in? And even the assault in it, it's not much if you've seen countless action movies. Maybe it would be deemed more realistic. That's up to people who've been through that situation. People who are in the SAS or the SWAT team, if any of those members actually see this video and they see this movie and they go, yep, that's how it is in real life. Okay. I'll take your word for it. But it's just, there's not much of note to talk about. I mean, one of them, the leader's hiding with the hostages, recognizes, shoots the guy. It's alright, it's just nothing earth-shattering. It doesn't seem like there's really much to separate this from the plenty of other hostage, assault, siege type of movies. Other than, it happened in real life, so it's just, okay, this happened in real life. I hate to say it, I don't know if there's really a story worth telling, as bad as that sounds. There's bad guys in there. The SAS did their job and trained. Mark Strong, negotiator, did his job to negotiate. Go back to the soldiers' training. Not a that's what I'm just repeating myself, because I don't even know what else to talk about with this movie. Talk about the characters. You can't, because Mark Strong, he has a family. And at the end, he does call his family to tell him he's alright. That's all you get to know about him. Jamie Bell, the only thing I talk about is that during the early stages of training, he keeps messing up. He's got to learn to checked his corners, and ultimately he does. Like the guy who kind of screwed up, he's now going to be the leader of this siege, and he's the guy who finds the leader before he lets open his grenade. I mean, if you do know about the real life circumstances, you know how it turns out. So, as a watch, I'm going, okay. Because I looked up the 1980, I'm like, okay, let me see what this is about. And I read the outcome. So it's now I don't find a whole lot of surprise. So I just... This is more of a try to be suspenseful, tension-fueled type of flick. But the tension's kind of dissipated when I already know the outcome, because this is something that happened in real life. And like I said, you're not really get a depth of characters to learn more about the people involved with the situation. It doesn't tell me anything about the reporter, Kate Adie, the BBC reporter. It doesn't tell me anything about the SES members. It just kind of very on the surface level. Hostages, train, they go in, kill the bad guys. One hostage dies. That's it. There was a point where he kills a hostage. I'm finding it hard to talk and review about this film because I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. It just seemed average. Okay, average, nothing earth-shattering type of event. I have no relation to the real event because I wasn't born in London. I didn't grow up in London. I didn't know anything about it until now. And yes, there are other movies that are much more, because of fictional, cartoony, like London Has Fallen, or more directed, like Inside Man with Denzel, which is about hostages. And I would still rather watch those films because there's either more entertainment value or more about the characters, or more I could really talk about the acting. Like I say, Mark Strong's good because I liked him as an actor and he played his role well. I can see why the guy on the other end would believe him, because Mark Strong, the way his tone of voice, and Jamie Bell, he did fine as a lead. There's nothing about it bad. There's really not much to talk about the characters, and there's not much to talk about the action. There's not much to talk about the suspense because I already know the outcome, as unfair as that may be. So, and again, Abbie Cornish, her fucking accent wasn't the best, and I'm like, you just completely cut her character out. I know it was a real BBC reporter, but I'm just saying it didn't really bring much of intriguing moments cutting back to her character. So you're not going to have humor in the film, obviously, understandably so. Can't talk about that. Action, I said, basic. I would say it's fairly basic action concerning all the other action films out there. So, and it was a movie. It was all right. I guess if you're really, really intrigued by the real life circumstances, you could give it a look. It just kind of, it was all right. Like I said, I really don't know what else to say. I apologize to Sherlock Bond. I don't really know what else to talk about. You can feel free to comment. Give me your thoughts on the film. I'd love to hear it. But with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.